Recycling and reuse of waste on site. Recycling and reuse of waste does not happen. It is a planned activity, and there is more to recycling than supplying separate bins for a job site's waste. It is important to understand the project and its waste stream to have a cohesive, well thought out plan for the recycling, reuse, and or discarding of all waste materials that is generated on the job site. So this plan should include the documentation of how the waste is generated and a plan of implementation for dealing with such items as scrap, lumber, the disposal and reuse of concrete, rubble, and reuse of plant material, and the disposal or reuse of drywall. This list goes on and on, relating to the nature of the project and the project's requirement. It should be noted that recycling and its accountability can happen only through education of all participants involved in the project. Sometimes personnel or company policies will defeat the purpose of a good waste and recycling plan on a project, such as the policy that craftspeople are not allowed to remove excess material from the project. Understanding local and state material recycling and salvage requirements. All local governments have legislations on sustainable practices. So when considering any program of material recycling and salvage, it is important to know which materials can or cannot be put in landfills, which materials can be mulched, and which materials need to go to specific or special disposal sites. So, as part of setting up a project, research needs to be done on local disposal and recycling options. Again, this is an area where questions have to be asked and answers. So, for example, where are the disposal sites? Are they close to the project? What type of waste is accepted for disposal or recycling? And are waste transit services offered, or does the contractor need to deliver the material to the disposal site? What is the disposal fee? Does it center on poundage of waste or per item? And are the fees the same for green and non-green waste? So today, all local governments have legislations on sustainable practices. The contractor needs to adhere to its local and federal laws concerning material recycling and salvage. It can be very expensive to dispose of materials in an improper manner just to save tipping fees. So this figure shows the crushing waste material for reuse at the job site. And this figure shows the trash chute used for safety and to prevent dust. So next we will consider the stormwater pollution prevention requirements. Okay, so preventing the stormwater runoff is not only a green requirement, it is also a federal law in many countries. So the job site creates many different kinds of pollutants that can enter our streams, lakes, and other sources of fresh water. So every vehicle on site is fueled by gas or diesel, which is considered a hazardous material with specific cleanup and reporting requirements. But it's not the only hazardous material found on the job site. So properly disposing of excess concrete and concrete washout is another site consideration. So a site needs to be ready for the potential storms that will occur. Thus, the need for stormwater pollution prevention plans that begin with recognizing the hazardous materials on the job site. So, the formal stormwater pollution prevention plans, SWPPPs, need to be formulated for each project, considering the specific job site needs. Creating stable soil conditions using grasses during construction, filter fences, exit grates to knock off dirt from equipment tires, and providing adequate dust control contributes to a more sustainable project. Uh, the create and suggest green alternatives. It should be generally the contractors understand their materials, but today there is a wave of new green materials. So green materials include materials with recycled and recyclable content, low amounts of volatile organic compounds, and low environmental impact. It is imperative for the contractor to investigate and learn about these new materials as they come on the market. So a new plan should be created and introduced into the firm solely for the purpose of green material research. So this could be accomplished by creating a new position, or as easy as the contractor setting a couple of hours aside each week for green research. Next, we will talk about the requirements, required documentation for LEED and green globes. For the requirements, each member of the construction team must understand one's role in the documentation process and installation process. Most certifications require a specific level of documentation. Waste management, waste diversion, reuse, source reduction, and recycling are all difficult if not done from the beginning of the project. Important job documents that would affect profitability and performance can be lost forever if not done at the time the activity happens. Contractors generally will have requirements to keep record drawings and the as the project progresses, but will also have documentation requirements associated with LEED and green globes requirements. So these can be accomplished by specific reference in project subcontracts, but also need to be part of the ongoing review of subcontractor requirements, similar to the procedure used with record drawings. So next we will consider about the specialty and subcontractors' role in the waste management. Specialty contractors are knowledgeable in green practices and the use of green materials pertinent to their field of work. They play a positive role in waste management. They can also add to making the project team a potential leader in the technical areas of the sustainable practices. They can be an important source of information about sustainable construction practices and the design of high performance buildings. As design build continues to move into the mainstream of delivery processes, the subcontractors' role in the design will also continue to increase as they are best equipped to understand how design decisions will impact the project specifics. And they are at the cutting edge of new product development and are being constantly bombarded with the literature and the discussion of these new products and methods of installation. The wise subcontractors uh, understand green practices and learn about new green developments in their field. A wise contractor contracts and builds positive working relationships with subcontractors who are knowledgeable in green practices and savvy of new green materials and their uses. Next, we consider the stormwater management. The stormwater management plan, in USA, it became a federal requirement in 2000, and the agency which has the jurisdiction for the stormwater protection plan is called as the Environmental Protection Agency, and then they are regulated under the NPDES storm water program. NPDES is for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. This type of plan requires control of the construction process. So a contractor must be in control of the whole site. And normally those projects which disturb 1 acre or more land, those projects are required to implement this type of plan, SWPPPs. So finally in 2008, in the construction journal permit, this plan was given the most recent or most updated shape, and then that plan deals with the discharges of stormwater from the construction site. Next, we consider the indoor air quality and other lead documentation and requirements during the construction. Construction air quality plan has the following elements. So these elements actually try to exclude the pollution sources. These plan elements choose non-polluting materials, manage moisture and humidity, ventilate effectively, protect the material and equipment to be installed from fabrication, delivery, and installation. Document both by photos and by written descriptions. Create a method to measure the effectiveness of the plan. So the plan should be divided into 3 areas. What happens during construction, and what happens during commissioning, and what documentation and records are needed for owner occupancy as it relates to the other 2 items. So the construction air quality plan, which is also can be abbreviated as CAQP, prevents poor air quality during the construction, along with providing quality air after construction. When using the building equipment to provide air during construction, specific techniques should be used to ensure that the construction process has not become a source of poor air quality for the occupying owner. Special consideration in the area of mold mitigation is also a prime air quality issue, often overlooked. So a mold prevention plan could and should be part of an overall air quality plan. So today, mold has become a major area of litigation in the design and construction industry. Sick buildings